mi hermanita Melca.
Hola. ¿Qué tal?
It's so good of you to be here and just take a moment to come film with me, even though you're here for like a week, right? You're just like 3 more days and you'll be back to Guatemala,
Yes.
your new country.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, so just the audience doesn't know this, but you lived in this country since you were like, what, 13, 15?
12.
So at 12 years old, you moved to the U.S., and now you're older than 12, and you've been here for like 30 years. Not quite, but somewhere in there. And you decided to go back to Guatemala with your husband and your children for like a sabbatical, right? Like a year or so, I hope, because the rest of us are dying here without you.
That is the plan.
Yeah, and you're number 8?
Number 7.
7, yeah, because Tono is 8. I love to have you introduce yourself, and then we're going to talk about why I think you are the embodiment of love. No pressure on you, but that's why you're here today.
Okay, about myself, okay. Margia, Melca, Sultana, Ruano, Castellanos. No, I was kidding.
De Arkell.
I go by Melca. De Arkell. And I'm number 7 out of our family.
10.
Yeah, out of 10. And what about myself? I don't even know what to say. I have 12 children.
How many?
12.
12 children. You look about 25. So you started like at 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
You were 5.
No, so it's 8 girls and 4 boys. And I always wanted to have a big family, but I didn't know I was going to have 12. But yeah, it's so exciting.
How did your husband make you do that? Right?
Yeah, right. Nope, he wanted to. That was it.
Just because everywhere we go, we just went to Guatemala, to do the project that we're doing out there, our development project, and people just assume that we have these oppressive husbands that are forcing us, and we're like, no, we really love the children, so we kind of kept, you kept tricking your husband into having another.
Kind of. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much my life. I went back to college, so I'm in BYU right now. I have about a year left, and I'll graduate with my bachelor's, and we'll see what happens after that. Hoping to go to law school, but we'll see.
You'll be the nicest lawyer I know, but you could probably do it. Maybe immigration law.
Yeah, that would work. I like that.
So you go fight with people. I just don't see you fighting with people, but you could be
I don't think I could. Yeah, I'd probably start crying. The judge yelling at me, I'll be like, oh, don't yell at me.
Don't do that. That's so cute. I was worried that I was going to cry because last time I saw you was a couple of weeks ago when we were together in Guatemala, and then you stayed and I came back, and I'm like, oh my goodness, my sweet little sister, like my best friend. And the funny thing is that if we asked anybody in our family, people don't say that you're not supposed to have favorites and stuff, but everybody in the family would be okay with any of us saying that you're our favorite sister, and you know it. You know it. You're just very, very kind, and I really don't have an agenda of what we need to talk about, but I just wanted people to get to know you, and the people that already know you, they would agree with me that you have been able to impersonate the pure love of Christ, is what a Christian would say. Other people would call it charity, or maybe real love. And this is the book that is going to be your gift at the end of our little thing. But it's called Real Love, and we've been talking about it throughout the month. And I don't know how much you like to read, because I know you have plenty of textbooks to read, but this one, if you only got to read one book in your whole year or your whole life, I am that impressed with it. Because if you think about the most powerful thing that a person can have is real love. And anyway, so this guy is really great. He goes through the steps of how do you feel it, how do you share it, how do you grow it. And when you're in a relationship that is not perfect, which is like every single relationship, unless I was married to a God, all of us would have a difficult relationship because we're all human, and we have a hard time just always being loving, right? But I don't know, tell me some stories. How is it that you became such a giving and loving person? And sometimes I get mad at you because you're too nice and you let everybody just be use you. And I mean, that sounds negative, but at the same time, like, I think most of us unintentionally take advantage of your kindness. So I want to know, how do you survive this?
I was thinking about that earlier, actually. I was like, because I think the way our father raised you, or raised us, was to always do everything for everybody. He's like, okay, you need to serve everybody no matter what. You give everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was always thinking, okay, no matter what, if somebody calls me and they need me, I'm going to help them. Even if I'm sick, if I'm with babies, if I'm doing homework, and they call me, they're like, Melca, can you please give me a ride somewhere? I'm like, of course, and I drop everything and go give them a ride. And that's just me. That's the way I was raised, I think. I don't know, maybe.
The rest of our sisters are not like that. I don't know who raised you. I mean, most of us are pretty nice, but you're like way out there.
Yeah. Anyways, but I was asking Dan about it. I was like,
Dan is your husband.
I wonder why I do that. Yeah, Dan is my husband.
Yeah.
We've been married for 25 years now. So
Impressive.
yeah, it is pretty impressive, actually. Just kidding. No, but I was asking him, like, I wonder why I do that. Why I just drop everything and go, and no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, you know what? I think, because I always think, oh, I am not good enough. I am not doing the right things. Oh, I wish I could do better. Yeah. So my husband is like, okay, Melca, no, stop. And he's like, what I see is that you love yourself. Because you love yourself, you can love others.
Oh.
And I was thinking, oh, no, I don't think I love myself. I just, I always thought I was ugly. I was too skinny, too short, too whatever. And then he's like, no, I think you don't know that you love yourself. And he said, you know why? I'm like, okay, tell me, because I have no idea. What do you mean by that? And he's like, okay, so tell me why there were 27 boys that proposed to you. And you said no to all of them until number 27. I was like, obviously, you had some self-esteem. You knew what you wanted. You obviously love yourself. If you didn't love yourself, you probably would have made the first person that asked you, marry me. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll never get married, and I better say yes to him. Mm-hmm. So he was explaining to me, he's like, you have no idea that you actually value yourself, that you know who you are. Like, you don't know that you're beautiful. It's just like that song. You don't know you're beautiful. And he always says that to me. He's like, that's the thing about you, that you don't know it, but you actually are better than you think you are, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Anyway, so I thought about it, and I'm like, oh, okay. That's even, we hear that everywhere. You need to love yourself so you can love others. And that's probably, like, I didn't know that, but he just opened my eyes and told me that. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow.
That makes sense. Yeah, I guess I do love myself, because I just love everybody. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something about people that I see them and I just feel like they need something. I need to help them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you express your love, by serving. It's fascinating that you say that, because I finished reading this book recently, and that's one of the things that he suggests. He said, when you're angry, go serve somebody. I mean, how many people connect that, right? If you're feeling unfulfilled, if you're angry, you feel used, whatever, go help somebody. And when you give love, your love will grow. So that would make perfect sense. Down that his theory is really good, according to this guy whom I've never met. But I really love the concept, the idea that the more love you give, the more love that you're able to grow inside you, so you can give more and more, like a fire, like a little candle. Mm-hmm. Tell him that I'm impressed. Tell Dan that he's right on. So know yourself first and appreciate your value without being prideful. Is that kind of how he said it?
That's kind of like
how you would say it. So I remember some stories, like a couple of years ago, I was barely keeping you alive. Remember that hospital thing?
Oh, yeah.
You had to tell us that died. Moment. And I think that's the dark side of running without thinking of yourself. When you can go a little too far and get to the point that your body was worn out. And pancreatitis is one of those things that usually happens to angry people or people that care more about other people than themselves. Like if that was because you're not a drunk and you don't overeat and those other physical things. It was more the other one. So tell me what happened that Christmas time. I just remember I was in anguish because you're my favorite little girl. I can't just have you die. You do have 12 children that look up to,
I know,
to
right?
you.
Well, I just remember usually after having 12 babies, I was like, oh, I can do anything kind of thing. And the pain, I can put up with pain. I'm like, oh, whatever, because I had to have the babies without epidural. So
Because you were allergic to anesthetic. So you went full on,
uh-huh.
no pain medication for 12 children, and you throw up like crazy for 9 months. So you really wanted these children, right?
Yeah,
because
I
they
really
were not
did.
easy to have.
Yeah. So I remember that day we were about to have dinner, and I just started with this horrible pain. But usually I'm just like, okay, it's going to go away. I'm fine. And kind of breathe and relax. And I'm like, oh, because I felt it before, but it wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But that day, oh my goodness, I couldn't stop the pain. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. It really hurts. And I was just trying to be tough and strong. I'm like, no, it's okay, it's okay. All of a sudden, I just dropped to the floor because of so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I was actually crying. I never cry.
I don't think I've ever seen you crying.
I was like, oh my goodness, it really hurt. And I was just like crying. So Dan is like, okay, we're going to the hospital. And I'm like, no, we're not. And he's like, yes, we are.
Yes, we want you alive.
So he carried me to the car because I couldn't move. It was horrible. So we got to the hospital. And of course, like they wheel me in and they're like freaking out. And they didn't know what it was. So they did a bunch of tests. And I was just like, okay, stop the pain. Yeah. It wouldn't stop with the pain medication.
Morphine and stuff. No, I had the same thing. It doesn't, nothing touches it.
Yeah, it was like
you just want to die because it's like you feel like a balloon is getting inflated right here, right?
Yeah.
And everything hurts and you want to throw up. Oh, yes, I remember that pain.
Yeah, it's so bad. So finally they were like, okay, we're going to have to do a surgery. They took a picture and they said, okay, look at this. It's really bad. Your gallbladder has
full of
50-something little...
Like the stones thing.
Like stones, yeah.
Yeah.
So they were like, we need to do a surgery right now. So they took out my gallbladder and everything, and like, okay, well, you can go home after this. And I was so happy. Okay, it's over. When I wake up,
magic medicine.
Yeah, yeah. When I woke up, the doctor was like, "Oh, bad news. The pancreas is infected, so you cannot go home. We have to get rid of the infection." So I'm like, okay, well, maybe a couple of days. I was thinking, right? Of course not. It got
you
worse.
have a tiny baby at this point, right?
Yes, like Ariana, she was 2 months old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, she was
still nursing and everything.
Yeah, it was so sad, my little baby. But so they just kept, every week, they would just say, oh, you cannot go yet because you cannot eat. I couldn't eat. Everything would just come back up. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't go home. They were like, no, you're going to die if you go home. Mm-hmm. So I was there for almost a month.
Yeah, during Christmas time.
Yeah, I remember it was like December 1st.
Yeah.
And then on my birthday, on the 15th, I was like, okay, can I go home with my birthday? I don't want to be in the hospital. And they're like, no, I'm sorry. You cannot go home. I'm like, oh, please, can I at least go for Christmas? And they were like, we don't know yet. Depends on you. I was like, no, I was so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so one of the days, the pain was so bad and during that infection that I actually died. Yeah, my husband was there and he's like, okay, she stopped breathing. You guys need to do something. Come and
your heart stopped.
Yeah, I don't remember, of course, but he told me that the whole nurse, like there were, I don't know how many people in there. Mm-hmm. And it was like some code red and everybody was running around and I was dead. So they had to like bring me back to life. And
good thing.
Yeah, that was scary for him. I don't remember. But yeah, but I mean, when Christmas Eve came on the 24th, I was pretty much begging the doctor. I'm like, please, can I go home? Please, I'll be good. I'll eat. I'll do whatever. And so they let me go home on Christmas Eve. So I was able to go home on the 25th. I was there. So.
And do you remember what you did when you got home? And I wasn't happy about that.
Oh, yep. I remember that too.
Because we all tried to get the house ready and the presents and stuff. And what did you do?
Well, they had to be a Santa, right? That was my job. Yeah.
You wrapped and you
I was wrapping.
Set everything up under the tree and you're decorating it a little more. And I'm thinking, okay, go to bed. You just came out of death row, you know. It was just so interesting to me to watch you go through the whole thing. But it was also really fun to watch your children, how they reacted, because you have taught them how to love from your example. I remember Susie. She's amazing. You know, your one married kid that is expected. Yeah. I don't know if we're allowed to even talk about the new baby, but she was so nurturing, and she was just a mother, and she was out there making sure everybody was aligned, and she at the hospital just about every day. Every time I showed up, she seemed to be there.
Yeah, she came to see me every single day.
That's amazing.
And she slept over almost every night too.
And she had a job, and she wasn't married then, was she?
No, she was in school.
She was in school full time, having a full time job, but you have shown her how to love and how to serve regardless of convenience. Mm-hmm. You know, here's another story that you gotta tell me, because I'm still annoyed by that story. This one it was very touching, very endearing, and we didn't know if you were gonna live. And I absolutely love your children. They're the best. I mean, those little guys. I was thinking, okay, where can they all sleep? You know, if Melca is a goner, because it was a reality. Armor, he's my favorite.
My busy one.
Oh, he's such a cutie, such a mischievous little guy. And of course, Paola is my other daughter that saved my Rose. I'm sure if people have followed this podcast, you know, we talked about the accident right in January. Rose was what you are right now, the fourth week, the embodiment of peace, and how she could have peace in the middle of all that. And you came to Australia, you know, you came to get Paola, and Paola was with us, and that kid saved my life. And she's such a good, how would I say that? She reflects what you've taught her. She literally loved me and Rose all those days. And in such a tiny little body, that little kid is such a legacy, I think. You know, I don't think we're dying anytime, but we're on our way out, right? You're older than 30, even though you look 25. It's nice to be able to know that the children that we raise could at least emulate some of the good things. And I know that with your children, all of them are just wonderful and beautiful and kind. But there was that day that he had just had a miscarriage. Do you remember what I'm talking about? I think so. I probably get really annoyed, and I get to be bossy like a mom. But you're my little sister, and sometimes I'm sure, I think in Guatemala you'll find I said, okay, stop bossing me around. When we were together for like 2 weeks, you know, it's amazing we didn't fight. But what happened when you had that miscarriage and somebody called you about? Oh.
I had forgotten about that.
I haven't.
Oh, you were there when she came? Oh, no, you were there when I was babysitting.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Yeah. So, yeah, I had a miscarriage the night before. And then...
and you were not feeling well.
I mean,
was
so
one of those
sick.
difficult miscarriages. You couldn't even stand up. It was bad.
My neighbor called me, and she's like, Melca, I need to go do something. I don't remember what. And she's like, can you just watch my kids? She had 3 kids. They were like 2, 4, and 5 or something years old, you know.
Yeah.
So she's like, I'll be quick, just like a couple of hours. And I don't know why I couldn't say no. I mean, I was dying. I was so sick.
Now. You were dying. You were really sick.
Yeah, I was just laying there like, oh, okay, I'm going to die. But then when she called me, I was like, oh, sure, bring them over. So they came over, and that was fun. But
yeah, I was still annoyed by that. I mean, and I think there's a very difficult part about a personality that is all love, because you're all love. Remember that Strengths Finder test that you took?
Oh, yeah.
We were doing that test.
Yeah.
And usually you have like influencer and people that do tasks and all this stuff, you know. And most people, like I have all the colors. You know, I have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And yours was all purple or whatever color that was, all blue. Somebody told you, are you a pushover or something? Remember, somebody kind of mentioned that to you.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah.
I thought, I think it was Rick that said that to you. Rich, he was like, well, what? Because that is a very unusual personality type. And what do you think, coming from someone that is all love, you know, and everybody can feel it, and doesn't matter what time of the day, what time of the night, you never said, excuses to not love, right? But knowing what you know and the experiences you've gone through, how would you improve on that? Not getting more love because you have too much of it. How would you balance that out with sanity and not getting sick and not being exhausted? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I already experienced that, getting sick and exhausted. Like you were saying, in the hospital, my body was like, okay, you need to rest. So, yeah, I'm actually learning, kind of, to balance more, because I'm trying to finish my schooling, and at the same time, my 12 kids need me, and everything just, so.
And you're in a foreign country now without, like, the basic canned food and things like that are easy.
Yeah,
everything
that
from
is
scratch.
hard. I don't know how Guatemalans do it. I'm impressed, because I wake up in the morning and the first thing, okay, start making breakfast, and it's not like cereal and milk, or it always has to be something from scratch.
Frijoles con huevo.
Frijoles con huevos, pretty much every day.
Eggs and
yeah, or pancakes.
Eggs and beans. Yeah, pancakes.
Yeah, but then when I'm done cleaning up for breakfast, then it's time to start lunch, because I have to go to the mercado to go buy whatever I need.
Yeah, the daily market, fresh food. I mean, that's why Guatemalans are so healthy, but it's a full-time job for the mom just to cook, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm like, I have to like peel and cut and blah, 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 instead of like, I have some
Costco.
frozen peas and some frozen broccoli and,
No Costco over there for you.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I finish my lunch and clean up, and then it's time to make dinner. I'm like, okay, can I do this for a year? Are you serious? So yeah, at the same time I have to like zoom into my classes, trying to watch my, my classes and do homework, and it's just crazy. So I guess in Guatemala, when I see people, I want to help them, but because I don't know them and they don't know me right now, I'm kind of like not worried about other people, I think. Here it's like, I grew up in the United States. All my friends are all over in Utah, Massachusetts, wherever I was, in Kansas. Like, I'm here in Utah, but I go and see my friends in Kansas. It's like something, I cannot let go of my friends. It's the weirdest thing. Like when I was in Utah or in Kansas, I would come here to Utah and see you guys. And
so, I know your life pretty well. I'm at your house a lot, and now you're telling me that in Guatemala you cook everything, and you still have your same children and life and everything. How do you stay sane? When do you take time for yourself? You look great, so obviously you care about looking great and continuing to be happy.
Yeah, I definitely take time to myself. Otherwise, I would be probably in the nut house. I would be like crazy by now. So I try almost every day to go running. I love running. I think it's my therapy. I just relax by myself. Well, it's not relaxing to run, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but you run and you're alone and you're with nature or whatever outside.
Yeah, I can think. I can just, whatever I need to think about. And usually I like to run, depends on the day, either 5 or 10 miles, or Saturdays usually 15 miles. I don't know, depends what I feel like doing that day.
1 mile is too many for me. So, how many marathons have you run?
2.
Only 2 marathons?
I wanted to run the one last year, but
the COVID
came and ruined my plans.
What did our friend Alma Nelly say to you? That was the funniest thing when we went to our cousins that we just barely met, right?
Yeah.
We just barely met them in Guatemala.
Yeah, I was telling her because she got diabetes. So I told her, to not get rid of diabetes, but to feel better, you should run. Because I am kind of like in the borderline of diabetes,
right,
because of so many pregnancies.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctor told me you can take care of your diet, or you can exercise, or both. So, I'm really bad at my diet. I eat whatever I want, but I love running. So I was telling her that I'm like, well, if you run, your diabetes will, balance out or whatever. And she's like, okay, honey, if God wanted me to run, I would be a horse. And she's like, I am never going to run.
She would have made me a horse instead of a human. Yeah. I agree with her. That is just the funniest thing. Yeah. That's funny.
But yeah, that's what I do. I love running.
Yeah, that's good. it is so interesting to me how people are so gifted in some areas, you know, and you know this about yourself. You know, you have that love portion that is like you have an extra amount of love than any human I know. And I do, especially now that I'm far away and I can't lecture you all the time. And I can't see how many people you're babysitting while you're dying and bleeding to death. I think it's going to be interesting to see what you find out about how to balance that gift. Because sometimes our gifts are our greatest weakness also. You know, I might have this specific gift, but it makes me blind to the other side. So there's a scripture I love, and I just want to take advantage of that because I know you're Christian, as at least a month ago when I saw you last. And it's 1 Corinthians 13. And this is not a religious show, you know, or a political, even though politics and religion is just something that is part of life. But it's more about the learning, the teaching of I think it's Paul in the New Testament. And I think you really have embodied this really well. And he starts in verse 3, it says, "And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profited me nothing." Right? So charity, I would say, charity, people see it as giving people stuff. I think I see this more like unconditional love. So, and you're very familiar with the scripture, but I wanted to kind of read it in the sense of unconditional love, real love, like this author that we're highlighting this month. And part of the reason that I think your love works different than there are people that I know that are constantly serving. And then bringing you stuff. I have some really nice neighbors that bring stuff and bring meals and stuff, but I feel no connection to them. Probably because it's like the action. I'm going to bring you stuff because I want to feel good about myself and I want you to think that I am better than I am. Does that make sense? But I think the difference is that when you give love, you give love. There's no conditions. There's no you're too annoying or you're too bossy, big sister, or you got this on yourself and I'm going to bring you a meal because you love me. You just love me, right? Without any conditions. And I think if all of us could get there without the sickness part, we would be in a really good place. And then he explains, I really love this. Real love is what I'm going to call it. Suffereth long and is kind. Real love envieth not. Real love vaunted not itself. It is not puffed up. And I just think, wow. I love how simple, if you were to divide it up in pieces, you know. I know there are some difficult people in your life. I've seen it. And some people that you're really close to. But you're willing to suffer long. You know, what can you tell me about that? What keeps you going when sometimes you just feel that this person or people continue to betray you and treat you poorly and take advantage of your loveness? You know, how do you manage to continue to suffer long? Because that's a gift.
Good question. Haven't thought about that. But I see what you're saying. Yeah, I just put up with everything. I kind of let go. I think I just go with the flow, I think, because can you imagine if I didn't? If I stressed about everything? I guess I choose my battles because there's so many battles you have to fight like every day. I mean, my life is crazy that I seriously have so many battles to fight.
Yeah.
But I choose the battles that I'm like, okay, that one I'm going to let go. No big deal. It's okay, you know. And when it's something that is very, very, that is going to just bother me too much, I just, okay. So how about this and that? I try to fix whatever the problem is. But yeah, I think I'm just so relaxed. I don't know.
So you choose love over winning.
Yeah,
Whatever
I really
battle
don't
it
care
is.
about winning. It's just, for some reason, I enjoy seeing someone else happy.
Yeah.
When someone else is happy, I'm happy. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
They could do that, so I feel happy for them instead of,
Right.
I don't know, being mad at them or whatever.
Right. But does it worry you that they're sucking that happiness out of you? Like they're, in a way, you see them happy, but then you're struggle and you're in pain and you are sick and you're babysitting kids that you shouldn't have to be babysitting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that book is going to be really good for you
I will
No,
not start
because
reading it.
yeah, not because you have a plane ride.
Yeah,
It's good. It's entertaining. He tells really good stories. Not because you need to learn how to love, but you need to know how to not allow that love to become your destruction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because you're very kind. I mean, that's it. But the long suffering, I've seen that. It's been painful to watch. You don't have any envy. Like, I'd never seen you say, "Oh, I want to get that big van because I." There's nothing about you being envious. And I don't even know how to say this really well. Vaunteth, like, just exalt yourself. You don't do any of what you do so that people can see. The only reason I know that you can come visit my parents just about every day is because I happen to live upstairs. And I think, does anybody know how much I give? But now you don't go around in the family text saying, I go every day. Even when I'm in the middle of trying to finish my schooling and my children and Remember that day I took you to the hospital? You were there helping them, even though you were already in pain.
Yeah.
Because that pancreatitis was again acting up, this past year. I don't want to make you embarrassed, but I do think this is an unusual human here. So everybody knows that, and they would agree with me. And so to continue the scripture, it says, we're talking about real love, right? It doesn't behave itself unseemly. Seek it not her own. Is not easily provoked, and think it not evil. Right? So if anybody wanted to learn how to love, this is, to me, the best description of behavior, because really love is a behavior. It's not just, I feel this passionate love. That might be attraction, but it's not love. How do you love somebody after 20 years, right? How many years you said? 24 years? 25, yeah. So seeking not her own, I think that's a powerful thing. Like the neighbors I say that show up just so they can be seen as, I am a love person, I am a good person. But not necessarily just to get the notoriety. Does that make sense? And it's nice that to get people to be kind and stuff. And it's hard to say, did you bring that meal with pure love and pure intention? And most of the time, that's true, right? It sounds very judgmental that I'm sounding judgmental, and I don't mean to do that. But I think all of us sometimes do things to be seen as something special. But you've never done that, which is really good. I don't know how you've got a couple of sisters, and I won't mention names because luckily there's 8 of us. But even from the time you were little, you were not easily provoked. And that kid would just use you and got you in trouble and stuff, and you didn't get mad, you didn't tattletale, I don't know. Like I say, you're a gift to our family, so I can't imagine anybody else could just be that. I've never met anybody that full of love. But let me finish this list because I think it's powerful. Rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth. The th is still a difficult thing from my Spanish accent. Yeah. But rejoiceth in the truth. How interesting, right? That you don't tell yourself stories and lies. And that's something that he brings up in that book, even though this guy has nothing to do with religion. He's talking about if you understand your truth first, see where you're failing and don't pretend that it's the other person's fault that they don't love you. It's just fascinating. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things. This is torture. I have to do this in camera. Endureth all things. And charity never faileth. Pure love, real love, unconditional love never fails. I just thought, can you tell me a story about how that you could connect to any of those things we talked about? Maybe how love doesn't fail. When have you had a difficult situation or something that your love and your power to love helped you get through it or solved a massive tangle? I mean, I'm sure you might have a story there.
Probably a few.
Yeah.
Well, as a mother and as a wife, we all go through ups and downs, and
Yep.
you know how it is. It's not easy. And they're like, wow,
you
you've
have
been married
lots
for 25 years. I'm like,
And you have daughters.
It's been fun, but yeah, it's ups and downs in the journey, and but I love it when I see what has become the last 25 years. Having the 12 children is like the biggest gift to me. Like I wanted to keep going if I if I didn't almost die in the last pregnancy.
Yeah, I don't want a dead wife.
Yeah, that's what he said. He's like, nope, we're done. But I was actually asking my girls this morning too, because I knew I was coming here. I'm like, guys, what do you think is love? Like what? And they were like, Mom, you really are the word love is like written right there, love. And I'm like, yeah, but tell me, like, remind me. I know the big L. That's you. No, I'm kidding.
No.
No, but they just came up with little stories. Like, I don't even remember any of this, but they were like, Mom, like one time you were just in a restaurant, we were eating something, and then one of my girls didn't like her food, and she was like wishing to have mine. I didn't like her food either. I was like, oh, I didn't order that for a reason. And but I saw her face. It was so sad. She was like, oh, this is so gross. And I was like, oh, I felt so bad. So I was like, oh, I don't like mine. You can have mine. And I just gave it to her. And I was like, I'll trade you, and like try not to throw up with her, you know.
Because you're picky too. You're really picky.
Kind of. Not really. No. No, but they were like saying little things like that. They were like, I couldn't believe it. Like, we cannot say anything to you because we know that you are going to give it to us. If one of my girls say, oh, wow, I love that shirt. Where'd you get it? I'm like, oh, you love it? Oh, you can have it. And the other girls get mad. They're like, Mom, that's not okay. You just bought it for you. And I'm like, no, I never buy anything for myself. It just happened to, you know. And they were telling me that. I was just laughing this morning because they were just like, Mom, really? Everything you do is for us.
Yeah.
Like, in the middle of the night, Tatiana, with some diabetes problem, she called me, Mom. Like at 1, 2 in the morning, she's like sweating and dying. Her blood sugar is low or whatever. And I get up and go and you know, and she's like, I don't think any mom can do that. I'm like, yeah, you can because your child is dying. They're like, yeah, but we know that you just, I could ask Paola to give me something, but no, you come all the way from upstairs and you help me at 1 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you know, just little things. But I mean, I don't realize it. You're just the mom, you know. But they're like, if you have food in your mouth, just give it to us. So we cannot ask you for anything because we know that you'll give it to us. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so generosity. Generosity is a huge part of love, you know. Mm-hmm. That you forgive again and again some people that have done some terrible things to you. And that's one of the things in the list here, you know, the forgiveness. And I was talking to Tono about the forgiveness oil. That he was back in the first week, and that you're such a natural forgiver, and I'm amazed, and I'm so grateful that I get to be your big sister, and that you're such a good example of love. And you know, I almost feel like when you as Melca, you know, not some random person, you as in you, you are powered by a bigger force than your little body. Right, you got a bit of diabetes, you were saying, and you have had bronchitis, and you can't eat just anything because you've got all the problems still from the gallbladder, and you get tired like every human, right? And you have classes, and you have all these things on you, but it's like as if you were powered from a different source than the rest of us. I mean, I have 10 children, and I'm pretty nice, but not to the level of giving that you are. And I'm trying not to. I'm trying to make sure that you don't think this is normal. I don't want you to continue to give yourself so much that you disappear, because we all want you here. You're not even 50 yet, so we want you here for a while. But at the same time, I think it's a lesson for the rest of us that when it's something really hard to do, if you're powered by a higher power, that connection that Tono talked about like I said a few weeks ago, that you can find that divine love within you. And the more you give, to me, you are an example of that concept, of that oil, you know, that love oil. If there was a love oil, not necessarily a doTERRA oil, but if it was like a spiritual love oil, you are like this little lamp. And every time you give one drop, you get like a whole ounce, and I think it's powerful because that's how you're fueled. And you think because you have more energy than most people I know,
Mm-hmm.
and there should be no reason for you to do that other than your motivation is so pure that your love gets you through things that regular humans can't get through. Right?
Yeah,
Does that make
okay.
sense?
That explains a lot. I'm not human.
You're not human.
Marilyn said that when I was pregnant with baby number 11. She said, Melca, okay, 10 is human, but more than 10 children is not human.
Right, 10 is human. I'm still in that category.
Yeah, that I wonder. I don't know. I think it's just me. I just have so much love to give. It's so weird.
Yeah. I think
Like
that's
anybody I see, not like I fell in love with them, but yeah, kind of. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, I wonder what I can do so they're happier, so what I can do for them.
Yeah.
And it's just the first thing that comes to my head. It's not something that I think about. It just comes.
It's just a gift. It's a natural gift.
Yeah.
So I know your husband is a fast reader. I think he'll love that book because exactly what he said about you loving yourself first and knowing that God loves you. And that's one of the things that Tono mentioned. Once we can get to that divine connection, we're fueled by that love, and the world is different. You're so grateful for everything. I mean, that's the thing that's so nice. We bought some jocotes and stuff in the mercado when we were in Guatemala, and we were so grateful for the little things, and then we ate. That was fun. Eating caldo in the mercado, again, here's another crazy story, right? You had just come back from Guatemala because you went out there to look for housing and stuff, and then I had to leave 2 days after that, like that. It was like 2 days, right? And Dad says to you, you should go with Deborah. You should go help Deborah in her big crazy project out there in Cabong in the middle of nowhere and 100 degrees and 100% humidity.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, and no real roads and no running water in the villages. It's all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. So then we go for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Get up at, remember that first day? Got up at 2 a.m. because the mercado was opening at 2 a.m. Dale. Which means that we're backing up these buses and these trucks and the houses. The alcalde, the mayor's house is right there, and they're backing up. And dale means keep going, go.
Yeah.
I will never be able to hear that word again.
Oh yeah, I wanted to die. I was like, please stop. I want to sleep.
Yeah. And it's like all these people like yelling in our ears because they're right there, right? And you're this tiny anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I should appreciate your example. And I'm going to cry because I'm going to miss you. You used to live so close. And it's so hard. But I'm going to Guatemala as often as I can.
Yeah.
Go. Whatever you need. I'll bring you American deodorant, American mousse, right?
Please.
Please. What was it? The what else you needed? The shampoo?
The shampoo.
So you just send me a list and I'll find a way to come find you because it's just going to be really hard for the whole family to be without you because you're that light. That light that just keeps us going. But do you have any last words before I completely lose it here? Like ruin my makeup in front of the camera?
No, I'm so honored. I feel so honored to be here. Thank you. And I was thinking, it's so embarrassing to talk about myself, but
it's okay.
Like you said, just talk about yourself. I'm like, okay. Yeah, but yeah, I'll try to train myself not to die.
To find
like balance more. Yeah, it's hard. I don't know why it's hard, but I will. Yeah, I promise.
Yeah, make sure because I want you back alive.
Yeah,
next year. I'm sure all of us and your children, but we all love you, and I really love you, my little sister.
Oh, love you too.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Guatemala in March.
Yay.
February.
Okay.
Whenever I come.
Yeah. Come every month.
Yeah, sure. I have nothing to do. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.